Stop beating your gums and sound the attack.
All right, hello, and welcome everyone to another episode of the We Got the Chocolates podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Lee.
I'm Mitch, also a co-host.
And I'm the third of the trio, Sam.
Thank you, guys. And you are listening definitely to the We Got the Chocolates podcast. This is episode 47. And probably, guys, at the We Got the Chocolates podcast, we're about striving for wins, obviously occasionally missing, in fact, probably more than usual. Our conversations probably centre a great deal around sport. We've accumulated plenty of stories over the many years that we have played, which we love to share with you. So if you are after some comedic value and also some entertainment, then stick around. We've got plenty to offer. We also interview a lot of guests, as is the case on this particular one. Now, guys, I have forgot to play the song here. Here is the one that I have for you. Definitely can hear it. Certainly loud enough, that's for sure. Keep that going in the background just to let people's ears go back to the regular volume. Yep. What are your thoughts there?
A bit different.
Yeah, very different. I'm not a massive fan. I feel there's too much going on with that sort of snare drummy thing in the background. But
jeez, old musician Skinnled over here. Well, the 126ers have put that together. Let us use it for free, Skinnled, so thank you very much to them. Okay. See You on the Other Side was the name of the song. Speaking of thank yous that we need to mention, obviously there is no secret that the only thing getting us through this particular episode is the help of Alchemy Cordials Australia. We've tucked into a few of their smoothie range during the interview, which Shayna will mention at times as well. Very exciting. That's really all we have to let you know, I think. And then we are bang into the interview. Please enjoy. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our guest on the podcast today is actually in studio and new studio, so it's lovely to have her. She's the first guest that's actually set foot in this particular studio. She was part of the Australian women's 4x100 metre freestyle relay team that won gold and set a new world record at the 2018 Commonwealth Games. She placed fourth in the women's 50 metre and also the 100 metre freestyle at that event too. And in the same year, she won a gold medal at the Pan-Pacific Championships. Those are just a few of her impressive achievements. I mean, the list is quite long. We've spoken about that in the swimming pool. So tonight we have the pleasure of speaking to Shayna Jack. Thank you very much, Shayna, for being here.
Thank you for having me, guys.
No worries at all. Now, Shayna, we've probably done some introductions. We need to be honest, I guess, because we didn't just get you in and your first words were on the podcast. But Sam, obviously, you are here, so say some words so people know.
Hey, Shayna, how are you? Good to see you again.
Thanks.
Excellent. And then Mitch.
Yep, also here. Shayna, how's it going?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Great news. Now, Shayna, I guess we do probably want to be somewhat upfront with our listeners, because there will be a few people that probably look at your name after the last couple of tumultuous months for you. I'm not sure if I pronounced that word right, but we'll go with it. But those that do listen to the podcast regularly would probably know that we're not shock jocks. We're not here for a tell-all interview. It's not Tracy Grimshaw that's interviewing you. So I guess we wanted to get you on the podcast, because I feel like sometimes when these things happen in the media, we probably forget that there's a real person actually behind it. So we wanted to give you a chance to just actually humanise you a little bit and let you have a chance to just show that you are a real person and a quality human being as well. So thank you very much for being here.
No, thank you. I completely agree. I'm really grateful to be here and be able to talk to you guys and, I guess give you a bit of an insight into my past year. Obviously, it's been a very big, impactful year, and a lot of people obviously have heard of my name probably for the first time due to that situation. But, you live and you learn, and I've learned a lot of great experiences, which I can't wait to share with everybody.
Magnificent. And Shayna, you also have tried one of our delightful alchemy beverages. What are your thoughts on that? You were actually the first person to debut trying that smoothie as well.
Well, I'm a massive mango fan, so I'm loving it at the moment, and thank you guys for making me one. It's very refreshing and beautiful.
Joined by Mitch. Mitch is going the mango as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've almost finished mine in the time that it took Lee to make his.
All three flavours on the table.
Happy with that. I've got the berry, which is very nice, and the world is up.
I've gone banana, and I probably didn't put quite enough.
That's milk. That is genuine milk.
Yeah, all your drinks were well proportioned, but mine, I just took a stab in the dark and threw a little bit in there, but probably wasn't quite enough. So I'll live and learn.
As there are instructions on the bottle.
I know. I can never be bothered reading the instructions. I probably should next time.
Yeah, very fair. Shayna, so with that sort of intro to our podcast in mind, I was wondering if you could tell our listeners how we managed to get such a big name like yourself on the podcast, because I know I think I've contributed 0 guests in terms of having like any sort of mutual connection, so I know it wasn't me.
So obviously a lot of you guys know Sam, so he's really close to their family, and I've grown up watching his cricket career. He went to Sheldon College with my older brothers, and so we've just always been great family friends, and we've always had an interest in each other's sporting lives and, you know, just general lives. And he reached out to me, and now I'm here, and here we are.
Outstanding.
Very happy to have you. And, I went to uni with Mitch as well, and we used to carpool down the coast most days. I'd pick him up from swimming training early in the morning, and I was already half asleep, but he'd been swimming for 2 hours already or something, whatever it was. So
that's because he didn't want to use the fuel, so you had to use the fuel.
Man, that's a trait that you share, I think.
Yeah, we did share the driving a bit, so I can't say it was on my fuel. But I have been known to go to the Jack household every now and then for a dinner or play the odd board game, so I probably should get back there soon.
Yeah, you were at Christmas last year, and I unfortunately missed that one.
I think Shayna beat me the last board game I played against her. I think Mitch and I played together, and we lost to Shayna and Zach at Trivial Pursuit.
Trivial Pursuit. That's right. So what board games? That's what I was going to ask. What board games are we talking here? Like,
there was a Trivial Pursuit, and didn't you bring Banana Rum?
Yeah, Bananagrams.
Yeah, Bananagram, that's it.
Yeah.
So we play that non-stop now, thanks to Sam introducing it to our family. Right. Like every single time our family catches up for dinners or anything, we always play Bananagram.
Yeah, Haz is literally the king of the games. What's the thing you always get us over to play that's on the TV that... You know, the
Jackbox.
Yeah, the Jackbox TV. Has he got you onto that? Or
no, not yet.
What else do you love? Finska, Cub, any of those?
Yeah,
any games are enjoyable.
Yeah, so I'm very competitive. So love getting in a board game challenge with someone.
And coming into our family is a big risk because we're all very competitive. We all love our sport. So we've grown up, obviously, I've got my 3 brothers, so very competitive household. And then to add Sam to that equation, it's a bit of a mess.
Outstanding.
Even if it's to get there and we'll play a bit of ping pong or a bit of PlayStation against each other. So
I've never seen your table tennis on a real table. I've only seen it on that one that got wet at your house that's dead and doesn't bounce.
It's like Madras, turns square and doesn't bounce.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Shayna, we mentioned that race at the Commonwealth Games where you and your team won a gold medal for Australia. So we may as well start there. You know, what's it like to be a world record holder at 19 years of age?
It's very surreal. It's one of those memories that I will never forget. Like, I always look back at it, and it's one of my favourite moments in life. I was obviously surrounded by a home crowd, so we were at the Gold Coast, which was awesome. So my family and my friends and my partner was there, and obviously then there was obviously the girls and their families, and we never expected it. That's the one thing that surprised us. We had never even considered that was going to happen. We just went out there, raced. We were having a laugh in the warm-up room, and I think a few of us were singing, and I think Bronte was giving me a massage. So it's just one of those things, like, you never really planned it, and I didn't see it coming. I remember I was talking to Bronte, waiting for, Kate was coming in, and Bronte was like, Shayna, look at the board. And Kate was over the line. And I was like, oh my God, we're about to get a world record. And I was just over the moon, full of emotion. I was crying and I was laughing and I was happy. And I even look back at the race. I've got a copy of it, and I've probably watched it twice since. And I cry every time. It's just one of those moments that no one else will really, I guess, understand except for the people who were in that situation.
Do you know what the world record is going into the race, the exact time? Or was it just going to say world record on the screen?
Because I was going to say, this is the dumbest thing ever, but I always forget that the line that we see on TV, you actually can't see.
We cannot see that in the pool.
So I'm always like, can this person go faster? They're about to literally break a world record.
Oh my God, it's right there. Can't you just go?
Reach out, you idiot.
No, so it is awesome, and it's a crazy experience, but you never go into a race planning the outcome. If you want good results, you just race. You do what you do best. And for us, it was always just go out there, have fun, embrace the crowd. That's the first time I've ever heard a crowd underwater. Everyone cheers really loud, and you think you can hear them, but you can't. But at the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games, we physically could hear them when we were swimming, which was so crazy.
That's a leap.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was unreal.
Yeah, no, that's good. And obviously a pretty impressive feat at such a young age. So I sort of wanted to ask, when did you actually start swimming? Because I imagine you had to get a few hours of practice under the belt before you turned 19 to do that.
Yeah, so I actually
debuts.
First
swim.
So I began swimming basically for the purpose of learning how to, just to protect myself in the water. Obviously, my parents are really big on water safety, so that when we go to the beach and all those kind of things, you can handle yourself in water. And I once again showed my competitive instinct when I was, 6 months old or something. My brothers were in the water swimming, doing their, aquatic achievers, and I was sitting on the sideline watching, and Mum could just see how I was so anxious. I was like wriggling around. I was just so overwhelmed because I wasn't doing what they were doing. And so the swimming instructor said, you know what, put her in the water, see how she goes. And out of all my brothers, I was the only one who didn't cry on my back. So I did have a bit of a natural ability growing up. I specifically obviously went into club training when I was 7, and then I started competitions probably like a year later at 8, and made my first team at 10. So I made a school Pan Pacific Games, which was really exciting, and it was amazing. We got to trade lots of badges.
Yeah.
It was all about the badges.
Oh yeah, I love those badges. They were at every school sport event.
Yeah.
They're cool.
Yeah, right. And so yeah, obviously you got started early as expected, but sort of when does it become obvious that you're like quite good at it? Like when do you sort of start thinking about making it a career, I suppose?
So for me, I don't reckon I thought I was good. But I met Libby Trickett at 10, and I met her, and she was so humble. She was so inspiring. I realized that this person is just a person. Like, she's done so many amazing things with her career as a swimmer, and inspired so many people. And at 10 years old, I realized, like, that's what I want to be. Like, I want to be someone who makes an impact on young girls, young boys, like anyone who is looking for an inspiration. And so that's when I knew I wanted to be an Olympian. Although I didn't know I was good, I still just wanted to be an Olympian. So that's when I guess I started committing a bit more. And then at 13, I quit all other sports, and committed completely to swimming. And that's kind of also when I made my first overseas team. So I went to Indianapolis. So it was my first time overseas without my family. So it was crazy, but it was very exciting. And yeah, that's when I was like, yep, this is for me. This is what I want to do. Like, I'm actually loving it. And I was actually pretty good at it.
Yeah. Oh. But Shayna, it does actually get to the point where, like, you already said it to us, obviously off air, but it actually does become like a full-time job, doesn't it? Like, that was the point that you got to eventually. Like,
yeah.
At which stage did it actually become like, this is actually my job. Like, this is what I'm doing.
So, like I mentioned, obviously at 13, I committed completely to swimming by, I used to dance, play sport at school. I used to go to the athletics carnival, all that kind of thing. I completely committed to swimming. Like, I stopped going to athletics carnivals because I had training. I stopped dancing. I stopped, playing sports at school. But when it became like a full-time job, I guess, when you talk about a job and a career or something like that, usually it is when you're getting some help from people around you, sponsorship, funding. And that was probably at the age of 15 that,
Jeez.
I was getting a bit of help, which was awesome. And I was so grateful for the help. But all that money, like, once again, my parents kept away from me because obviously I was 15. Of course, I'm just going to go shopping. So they kept that away and was only used for, to ensure it was for my swimming, to ensure I could go to competitions in different states, pay for massages if I needed them, physio, anything like that. It was all there to use, which is why they fund you in the way. That's technically why they help. And so my schedule was literally train at 4:30 in the morning, go straight to school. Yeah, ouch. Yeah. Train, then go straight to school, and then go straight from school back to training. And I didn't get home till about 7:30 at night. You have dinner, you go to bed. And that was my day every day up until, I left school.
Yeah, well, that was actually my very next question was about was just about like that's what I've always been amazed by about swimmers. I guess is just, and you've even spoken to us, but for our listeners, like your knowledge of even nutrition was ridiculous. Just before when we were talking about the alchemy smoothies, actually.
Yeah.
And so your actual like just day to day life as a swimmer seems like it is just like so hard, like in terms of the amount of training, especially leading up to something that's like Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, but that can be like a 4-year process, can't it?
Yeah, so I guess it's not in the context of hard, but it like you mentioned before, it's a career. We commit ourselves, we ensure that we're doing everything possible we can to represent ourselves in the best way. And for me, it was ensuring that I had great nutrition, ensuring that, I slept well, I had a great support system around me, I had great friends, I had a great family. Like all those people were little puzzle pieces that helped me continue on with my success. It wasn't just obviously me doing everything. But yeah, I was just really grateful for all the support and, continued on and kept aiming and kept setting goals. And
did you have to make some sacrifices? Like when people said like, hey, Shayna, we're going to hang out at
can
Cleveland
we be here
Macca's
all
and going to hang out and have Cold Rock ice cream. Like, no, sorry guys, I'll get that one to miss. So.
Yes, I made a lot of sacrifices. So, dinners with friends, I missed out on my formal after party because I had to race the next day.
Jeez.
I didn't go to parties. I never drank. I didn't do any of that stuff that most teenagers would do growing up or enjoy, with their schoolmates. I didn't have that. I was really grateful that my friend did understand that. I bailed so many times because I just had training or I couldn't make it or I was tired or I'm sure they got sick of hearing it. But in the end that, I had made a commitment to myself. And, I was also in a way giving back to the people who had sacrificed a lot for me growing up. I didn't get up at 4:30 in the morning by myself. Trust me, it was difficult getting me up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm not a morning person. Yeah. But, my dad and my mum and, then it became my older brother, Mitch. They would drive us to training and pick us up, take us back, take us to school. And once you get older, you do really appreciate all those little things that they did for you. And so I guess in a way I'm also giving back to them by, continuing to follow my goals and my dreams and, giving back to everybody.
I certainly didn't have that sort of commitment to cricket. Nothing was stopping me from doing the school cross country events or the athletics carnivals. So I was entering every event in that.
Although the difference between you and me is that I'm a water person and you're a land person. So running for me was not fantastic. Like I try running and I look like a baby giraffe.
I was going to say I'll do 100 metres of freestyle and I need a 7-minute recovery. So I'm struggling to really identify with what you're talking about in terms of the swimming. Hey,
I love the water. I go surfing all the time.
You love surfing.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember in primary school, my teachers are just, they were like, oh, you know what, like we'll just put you in with the boys' races. Don't even worry about if you come first and I was still first in the boys' races, so it didn't really matter. It was always fun though.
Yeah, and you mentioned how your brothers used to swim and they actually became really good swimmers as well. Mitch and Zach used to win every event at our school swimming carnivals and put everyone else to shame.
They used to tell everyone that too.
They were pretty confident about it, which is fair enough. They deserve to be. Yeah. And your youngest brother, Jamie, from what I've heard, is very talented and gifted in the pool. So, what do you think his chances like are, making it further and swimming maybe for Australia one day?
Yes, I'm really proud of all my brothers. So we all gave it a shot. Obviously, like you mentioned, growing up with Zach and Mitch, we swam in the same squad and everything. Every now and then there was bickering and sometimes it would carry home and we'd discuss the session when we got home. But in the end, they chose different career paths, which, good on them. They worked really hard for those. And now my younger brother has suddenly just got this, spotlight on him because he's doing fantastic in the pool. He's also Sheldon College's school captain, which is amazing. Unbelievably proud of him. He is progressing really well. Unfortunately, due to COVID this year, he couldn't compete at the age nationals, which would have been a great year for him. But those are the kind of lessons that every person, athlete, no matter who you are, you kind of learn to just adapt. And I guess I'm really proud of how he adapted with, the change with COVID. He had to obviously do homeschool and then obviously he couldn't swim. So I really look forward to seeing how he goes. And I always do, like, you know, give him some chat and try and get him motivated. And, you know, he always wants to hang out and go for a swim together, which, you know, makes me feel really good, which, yeah, it's just nice when you have a common connection with your family and everyone's there to support each other. So it's beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Are you school captain, Has?
No, definitely not. I think I was a sports prefect or something, but definitely not a school captain.
Yeah, that doesn't have the same ring
Trust
to
me,
it.
it shocked us all when he got that one. We were like, what? We love him and support him. But when we were all there for the ceremony, and we were all like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, he should be really, you know, proud of himself that he got, you know, the nomination for possible school captain. And we're all sitting there, and then all of a sudden he gets his name announced. We're all bawling our eyes out because we're like, we did not expect this at all. And I've got the camera up filming him. And
Yeah, it's a pretty big thing being school captains, Ken.
I don't think grade 7 counts.
What do you mean? Grade 7 was the hardest time to win school captain. It's like the most responsibility. So,
And it just went downhill from there.
year 12. I wasn't in the running in year 12, I don't think. No, I had to make that speech at Parliament House, and there were some tough things to do when you were 12.
Yeah, I'm sure being 12 is difficult, Leighthal.
True.
Shayna, it's commonplace for me on the podcast to try and get hold of people.
you didn't get hold of anybody.
I know people in your family pretty well, so I did get hold of them. But I try to get some funny stories and find out more that I can ask, because the guests aren't that great at telling stories when they're in with us.
Yeah.
Especially not ones that embarrass them. They're not that kind
I'm
to
just
shed.
not an embarrassing person though. Like,
No.
And Joel was like, oh yeah, like Sam messaged me and wanted to know from funny stories about you, but all I can say is you're not funny. Like, and I was like, well, that's right. Like, I don't do funny things.
That was a common theme, because neither of your brothers could think of anything to give me either.
I'm just not a funny person.
They couldn't come up with anything. So either you paid them really well, or you are very straight down the line and really fly under the radar. So I'm not sure which of those two it is. But.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm just someone who I might make a funny comment, but I've never put myself in a situation where like I'm embarrassed. Or I think the only embarrassing thing was when I was in grade 7, I was going up for my prefect badge and I dropped it. And so I bent down, but because I like got really long legs, I didn't like squat down. I just bend it over, and I'm in a skirt as well. And everyone's just like, "What is she doing?" Like, and then someone's got a photo of it, and it's plastered on the school's website. And I said, "What's going on here?" Like, I was so embarrassed. I was sweating like crazy. There's all these people, and I've just dropped my badge. Like, no respect for the prefect badge, obviously.
I think pretty well if that's the most embarrassing thing.
Yeah, actually, it's probably the most embarrassing thing.
You do well in a cricket team, because I'm always thinking about what I got to do to make sure I don't embarrass myself, so people don't spray me or
exactly.
don't.
Well, because we have like fines meetings and stuff. If you do anything dumb, you just get shredded. But you would be you would be very financially well off in our cricket teams. No one can find anything about you.
I think actually here's one from my family. This is my family's fault probably. So we were in Hawaii, and we've never been late for a flight ever, and we've also never been late for a flight since this day. We were all sitting there having like lunch, and all of a sudden our names get called over the loudspeaker in the Hawaiian airport, and like the Hawaiian airport, if you ever have been there, is massive. Like, you've got to walk around, go outside, go around corners to get to your gate. And it's completely away from the food area. So we're getting called over the loudspeaker saying the gate's about to close and they're going to leave without us. So my family's bolted off. I've got bronchitis. So I was choking and, everything. So we're running down. I couldn't breathe. I was like on the floor. Like, I couldn't breathe because I was coughing, and then I'm vomiting as well. And my brothers have bolted off to the gate and left us all behind. I'm back there with my dad. I'm pretty sure they didn't even care, because they were like, come on, we got to get to the gate. And I was like, I'm actually dying right now. And finally, like, the boys, Mitchell and Zach, got to the gate and they've held it off for us. And we walk into the plane, and it's just that gutted, like, everybody stares at you. I smell like vomit. Now we have a 10-hour flight. Apologies, everybody. Like, I was so disgusted at myself and my family. Like, they literally left me behind.
Did you just mix up the time, or what?
I had no idea how it happened.
It's like Home Alone.
It was it was actually crazy. Like, no one even knows how it happened. It just happened, and that's the one thing I always remember. Like, Hawaii airport is like a torturous place now.
That's not where you want to be. Oh, dear. Now, Shayna, we are obviously a very positive podcast, so we don't want to harp on negatives for very long.
Yep.
But it would probably, I guess, be remiss of us not to not to mention.
Talk about the
yeah, I guess
elephant in
not
the
to.
room.
And now I do know that obviously there's a lot of stuff that you can't say, and yeah, you're welcome to sort of let us know, I guess, why that is. But obviously, most people probably that hear your name would be aware of the fact of that. I guess last year you unfortunately tested positive to a banned substance in Ligandrol. I hope I'm correct in saying, and that was just before the 2019 World Aquatic Championships, which I guess forced you to pull out of that particular tournament, and then you've subsequently been suspended by Swimming Australia.
Yes,
but that investigation is actually still ongoing, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. So it's a year in 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, it'll be a year
Is it
of
that
waiting.
long? Holy
Yeah, it
hell.
actually went surprisingly quick, but it was a very torturous year, and I'm still waiting for my chance to have my say. And as you mentioned, a lot of the information is confidential because it's an ongoing case.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm happy to answer any questions you might have in regards to what I've been through and I guess the experience of the whole thing, because it's not like there's many people who've gone through it, and that's probably one thing I did find hard was I couldn't just turn to someone and go, hey, like, how did you deal with this?
That's
Like,
right, yeah.
I had to just learn as I went, and I'm in a way grateful that I can help people in the future if they ever go through something like this, and I hope they don't, because it is a horrible situation. And for me, it's even harder because, I know I didn't do anything. I know I didn't take any drugs or, put myself in this situation. So it's hard to, wrap your head around why this is happening and why you're being dragged through this, treacherous situation and process. And no one can really answer those questions for me. So
Yeah, I always think, in my point of view, I think what would happen if I somehow accidentally, without knowingly, tested positive for that, what would I say? I'd say to everyone, why would I want to take that stuff?
Yeah.
Why would I want to? And people would be, I guess the answer is, well, because it'll help you perform. But I guess my question is more not that. Why would I take it if I know that I get tested all the time and I know that I'm going to get caught, and I know that I'm going to throw everything down the drain that I've worked so hard for.
Yeah, and the Australian system, like ASADA is a great organisation who does test a lot of athletes consecutively. Like, we know we get tested. We know that they're going to show up, especially around competition time. And I got tested on a camp just prior to competition. So, I'd be the stupidest person to ever touch a substance then, let alone ever, because Australia has such a strong and tough system that you can't cheat the system. There's no way of possibly doing it without getting caught. So why would you bother? I was 20 at the time. I was only just starting to, aim for goals that I really wanted, especially with Olympics around the corner.
We sort of just spoke about like how hard the road is to actually be. I mean, that's a dream that started when you were 13. So it seems crazy to like that people would just think, well, she's probably happy to just write that off like at 20 years of age when you've worked for 7 years to do it. So.
And that's what I mean. And when they told me that this was a substance that I tested positive to, I couldn't even pronounce it for you. Like, I didn't even know what they were talking about. I had to ask them, what is it? Do you know where it comes from? And they were saying that, it was a black market drug and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, well, then why would I have it? Like,
That's right. It sounds like actually
I'm like
hard
the
to get a
most
hold
innocent
of.
person to do that stuff.
I've definitely never heard of it before.
Yeah. So, and that's the kind of stuff that I was so shocked at. And when I got the news, I was probably the worst person to ever be around. I was just, I couldn't breathe. I was just crying. Like, my coach had to ring my family. My coach had to ring my partner and tell them what was happening, because I was in the corner on the couch crying. And once again, like, you're in a different country. You can't just go hug your family. I then have to go on a 3-hour train back to Tokyo and then catch the 7-hour flight home back to Brisbane. And that whole time, I'm obviously thinking about what just happened. And
Are you by yourself doing that? Like that whole journey?
So Swimming Australia did. They gave me someone to go home with me, and then she obviously went back over to Tokyo. So I was really grateful for that, because obviously you've got a lot of things going through your head. You have no idea what's really happening, and it's really scary. Like, I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know what was going to happen next. I didn't even know what the punishment could possibly be for something like that. I heard on the news. even know that 4 years was the maximum that you could possibly get with this kind of substance. I was like, oh, well, I didn't take it, so I'm going to get let off. That's what I thought. Like,
Yeah,
that's
right.
literally how I thought it happened.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, I didn't tell anyone. Obviously, my family knew, and, you know, some of my really close friends that I, you know, lent on during that period waiting for my second sample, which a lot of people think that my A sample and my B sample are different. They're the exact same sample. It is just split in two and tested. Like, one's tested first and the other one's tested in case the first one was wrong.
Yeah.
Which that really upset me because a lot of people were accusing me of, you know, being tested positive twice. And I was like, no, you know, they're the same sample. Like, so I went home, obviously telling no one, and waiting for that B sample to come back because I thought that was going to be negative because I thought they made a mistake. So I was in a way a bit positive, you know, still sad because of the situation. I had to go home, but I did not unpack my bag. I was ready to go back to Japan to race at the Worlds. And then I got the B sample back and everything changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Gosh.
yeah, it's terrible. And the ban includes, you know, not being able to use certain swimming pools. Is that right?
So I can't use like Swimming Australia approved pools. Like, I can't go to St. Peter's because that's obviously my club pool and it's a school pool. I also can only use the pool from certain hours, so I can't be with squads around me, like any squads, masters or anything. So I have to go just during public hours. So that's like after 7 o'clock in the morning and before 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And unfortunately, due to, you know, kind of been thrown off a cliff into the real world, I had to get a job. I had to somehow, you know, I was living in a home, so I have to make my living somehow. And so I started working, and obviously I couldn't swim as much because I was working during the day, and, you know, and then I'm also studying. So it's,
That's right.
yeah, it was interesting, but I learnt a lot.
Yeah, right. So, Shayna, you've obviously mentioned that your training schedule has changed a bit there.
Yeah.
What about your goals moving forward? Can you talk to us about that, I guess, in terms of in the pool and elsewhere, I suppose?
Yeah, of course. So in the pool, the goals obviously have changed a lot because I have no idea what's happening with my swimming career. I'm in the dark about pretty much everything until I can finally have my say at the court of arbitration.
Shayna, am I allowed to ask? You can say no. But do you have any idea of like when that actually is?
No.
You don't at all?
So I just have to wait, and they have to.
They'll just give you a tap on the shoulder and go, hey, Shayna, come in.
They'll just say, hey, I'm ready for you, pretty much. Yeah, so I'll go to the court of arbitration, have my say, but with swimming, obviously, like, I still want to make the Olympics and I still want to represent my country in swimming. However, if that gets taken away from me because of an unjust system, then there's nothing I can really do about that. So those goals have kind of been put on hold, which is why I struggled for the past year to be motivated to swim, because I didn't have, you know, I didn't know when I was going back to swimming, so that, you know, there's no really short-term goals to make the long-term goals happen.
Okay.
But in my general life, I had to take a really big look at myself and consider, you know, what things I might be interested in outside of swimming. I was, you know, doing a business degree at Griffith University, and I did that based off, you know, once again, I did everything, every decision I made was for my swimming career. So I did business because it was a great degree. It's very broad, and it enabled me to swim completely and commit to my swimming as well as study part-time. And I put that on hold because I had to put my scholarships on hold because I wasn't allowed to get funding from anywhere. Right. So I decided to study a vet nursing course. I did my animal studies Cert 3, which is coming to an end in a month, which is awesome. So I've loved, you know, learning about all the different animals in the vet clinics, and I learnt a lot about my own animals. Through that, I did volunteering at the RSPCA, which obviously I'm a big person for the RSPCA. I love them and love what they stand for. And then
You've got the animal rescue shirt on at the moment.
I do.
Actually,
So I recently went to the Death Row Unchained animal rescue group. So they're located in Burbank, and they rescue animals from pigs to blind cows to horses to chickens to cats to dogs to everything. Like, it was amazing, and all their you know, money goes towards rescuing more and ensuring that, you know, they don't get canned, I guess.
Yeah. That explains your unbelievable immediate relationship with our dog as soon as you walked in, because we were very nervous about her hospitality at times.
Well, I love dogs, so I think she just knew that I was a dog person. But no, so my goals, like outside of sport, is to just find something that I really love, that, you know, if things don't go the way that I would want in the swimming career, that I've got some sort of stability outside of that, because I think that's a really big part for your mental health. So I've actually transferred my business degree to a criminology degree, because I'm really big on the justice system, and you know, potentially that could turn into the police force and working with the canine unit. So
Okay.
Jeez, that's combining.
Yeah, right.
that's why I've combined them all.
job.
Yeah, so that's kind of, you know, I never really pictured it that way when I first started doing my animal studies, but after having a big look recently at, you know, what I might potentially want to do, I think I found what I really want to do eventually, whether it be, you know, soon because swimming doesn't go the way that I planned it, or if it's later down the track when I do, you know, retire from swimming. It's actually really relieving to know that I've actually found something that outside of sport that interests me, because a major aspect of athletes' mental health, you know, issues when they finish their career, whether it be retiring or injury or something like that, is going into the real world.
Yeah, there's actually heaps of people talk about that, from NRL players, cricketers.
It's a really hard transition. And for me, it was hard because I was 20. I got kicked out of the sport, and I also had no one to talk to. I wasn't allowed to just go, you know, see my coach. I wasn't allowed to hang out with the swimmers. I couldn't go to pool deck. Like I just got completely barricaded off from the swimmers or any sport. I wasn't allowed to play any sport, by the way. So
nothing.
No, so I can't play any sport at all, which was hard because I was like, oh yeah, like I might, you know, just do another sport while in the meantime, so that I keep fit and stay healthy and keep my mind active, because obviously, you know, those endorphins make you happy, and I had that every day. And I was told I can't do any sport. So that was...
Is that still the case?
Yeah. So until
so no social touch football for our team?
Yes. Yeah, no, sorry. So until I have a decision, I can't do anything. And if my decision is like a longer sentencing, like a ban from sport, then I can't do it until my ban is over. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, sorry to be ignorant, but I just didn't realise like how many parts of your life that would have affected.
A lot of people don't
the ripple
realise
effect
it.
is ridiculous. Like you just look at it in the media and go, "Oh well, she has to stop swimming."
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. A lot of people
think about the scholarship stuff. Like there's so many parts that it affects.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like with my business, I was literally just about to go in to do internships with like Swimming Australia and a couple other organisations, and I had to pull out of all of them, and because I couldn't do them, I wasn't allowed to. So that, you know, that made a big hold on my uni, which that's why I also put that on hold, because I wasn't going anywhere with that. And it's actually a really interesting comment that you say, like, you guys had no idea, but a lot of people don't, which is why, you know, I really look forward to when this is all over, you know, whether, you know, hopefully I can go back to swimming as well. Like that'd be the best part of obviously the whole thing. Yeah. But I really want to educate people on how this actually works, because so many people just, you know, they ask me still, oh, how's training going? It's like, no, I can't train. Like I am not, I can do my own stuff in the yard or, you know, at a gym, but it has to be, you know, paid memberships and all that kind of stuff, because that you've just got to, you know, be a normal person again. And well, not again, because I've never really been one, I guess. But yeah, so it's in a way like I'm grateful because I have learnt a lot about this system, and I think a lot of people should be educated on this system. Because I feel like, you know, you've seen a couple of people come out now, you know, recently Bronson, and I feel like, you know, I could help him out a lot, and make sure that, you know, he's okay and his mentality is okay, because it's not an easy ride. So
no, it's so fair. And I think that was kind of going to be my next point, is I feel like we often, as a general public, actually are really, really poor at putting ourselves in the shoes of that particular person. I was actually going to say, like, I feel like things would be a great deal easier sort of actually without the media's involvement sometimes. And I'm not looking for you to tee up on the media or bag them or anything like that. But just an example I remember, like from that time, is when I heard you like cite a case like the cocaine kiss case. Yeah. And you sort of use that as like an example of how drugs can enter your system. Like it doesn't have to be that you've just directly put them in. And then all of a sudden it was like all over the media that Shayna Jack kissed someone that had cocaine on the lips, and like that was, and I was just like, how have you got that? Like,
really upset me, because once again, like, I'd finally built up the courage to speak out about what I've been through, and that took 6 months, and once again, people just decide that they want it to sound something different, and they want it to sound, I guess, raunchy. And they plaster me in a bikini photo on the page, and they say that I'm kissing people to have this happen to me, and I never once said that.
No, well, I actually read like your direct quote, and was just like, that's not what you said.
And that's what I mean. Like, I was really disappointed, and unfortunately, it's not obvious. It's quite obvious that the media let me down a lot, and I was probably naive to think that it was going to be different, but. At the very beginning, I was really, really upset with the fact that I released my full statement, like, of what happened from day dot till the day that I released that statement. Yeah. And, they were at my house. They were following me around in cars. I remember one day someone followed me to my parents' house, and I was crying the whole way because it was just so invasive. He ran red lights just to stay with me, and it just made me feel so vulnerable, and like they were just intruding into my life when I've done nothing to deserve that. I gave them everything. All they wanted was to see me cry. That is literally all they wanted. And I didn't want to give that to them. So I, did everything possible to ensure that they didn't see that side of me. There was a photo of me in Ugg boots, a jumper, and my little pajama pants out taking the bins out.
Yeah.
And the front page, I'm pretty sure, was taking the trash out, and it was first sighting of Shayna Jack. And I was like, really?
It's brilliant. I mean, it's brilliant stuff.
I didn't know.
It's really exciting.
I didn't even know they were there. I was like, oh my God. And now I never leave the house in anything unless I'm full dressed up. Like, I check outside my house every day. Like, I know people have kind of moved on, which is, that's fine. Like, I'm probably obviously stuck still because I'm waiting. But I still have that, like I'm still scared. Like, you go outside and I look to see if the cars are the ones that I generally see. And once my mum dropped me home, and there was a car that came past, and all he did was wind down the window and start taking photos. And it's like, what?
That's why I actually hate that, because like in any other facet of life, that's just like real creepy and like and like borderline illegal. Like just like if you just randomly start taking photos of like a random person that you don't know, it's just so frowned upon. Yeah. But then for some reason in these situations, like, oh, what a great shot, perfect, get that on the page.
And I get, like, I understand it's media, and I understand that social media is taking over, so they need something to get people's attention. And I was really disappointed with the fact that I am an Australian athlete. I'm an Australian swimmer who's represented my country. And yet you look at every photo they picked, I'm half naked or I'm in a bikini. And I know that those are photos that I've posted on my social media, but you don't ever expect them to be plastered on TV or plastered on a newspaper article talking about, you apparently being a drug cheat. And it's like, well, that doesn't really match up. Like,
no, those two things don't.
Yeah,
really
and that's what I mean. Like, it was just all to grab attention, and that's what, like, it was really hard to wrap my mind around. I was like, why? Like, I haven't done anything. How about you just wait and listen to what I have to say? Stop just assuming things.
It would just be like a hard.
So many frustrations.
Especially now that you kind of have to like walk on eggshells, like you've talked about as well. Like even in terms of like everything that you say, you'd be like, "Oh, can that be turned anyway?" Like it's just hard for your lifestyle. I think that's where I feel the most sympathy. I guess is like just can't be like, and like you said, people move on, but then for you, it's like it's got lasting effects that you're still feeling obviously now, like a year later, and for a non-defined amount of time. Really.
Yeah, and like that's what I mean. Like I still have moments where I don't have control of my emotions. Like I'll just, I think it was yesterday, someone from swimming called me and I just broke down crying. Like it was just I had a big day, and then it was talking about swimming, talking about my case, and I was just like, I've just done this so many times, and I'm ready for it to be over. Like I'm ready for this to be able to fight for myself now. Like I've talked about fighting for myself from the beginning, and now I'm literally just waiting, and it's really hard to just sit there and wait when I'm ready to go. Like,
Yeah.
I'm ready to fight. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can move on to a topic that's a bit more positive.
Bit more upbeat.
Sorry.
No, well, to
I
be
still
fair,
said
that
it
was...
in a nice manner. So.
Yeah, no, it was felt like that was the most intrigued I've ever been.
Yeah,
to
we
be fair.
appreciate your
So,
insights there.
So thank you
that's
very
awesome.
much.
That's okay.
I think everyone deserves to hear that as well. That's
I hope everyone does hear it.
Yeah.
I mean, not just because it's our podcast, that would also help, but like just because actually to shed some light on that situation. Because even for me, like I probably follow sport quite closely, but even so much of what you said, I was just like, wow, I didn't even think of that. Like, yeah.
And people people need to learn that not everything that's posted or on social media or advertised is true. Like all you have to look at is Photoshop. Like people say, "Oh, look at my body," and you're like, "Well,
Yeah, exactly.
is it really?" Like they question that, but they don't question someone's facts. Like,
Yeah, that's
Very
right.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Has you do also have to stop doing that.
I love
Stop
Photoshop.
giving yourself a mustache.
Only one guy can have a
I
moustache.
know I can't grow a beard. Now, we mentioned your love of animals before and your
Yes.
work with the RSPCA and
Yes.
how you get on so well with Ruby, the dog in the Drennan household here.
on.
Yes.
So
Where
you
is
have you have a couple of dogs of your own,
Yeah.
and they're not your only pets either. I don't think they're your only pets. You got some
No,
others?
so I personally own 2 dogs. So I have a Great Dane named Hugo and a Alaskan Malamute named Willa. So Willa's our newest addition. We got her at the start of this year. And then my family has so many. We have 2 cats, 2 dogs, a lizard named Kevin, a giant fish, and a
Is that
cockatoo.
a scientific name?
No, I actually don't know the name of it. My little brother's like really obsessed with it. He's like huge. He has like orange through him, and he's really cool looking, but he gets depressed sometimes, which I'm always like,
Oh,
you need to help the fish out.
yeah. That's right. Need some friends.
And then we have a cockatoo named Jack, which he's really cool. And then Joel actually has a snake named Kevin as well, but his older brother actually looks after him because they've got like the snakes in the family, and I didn't really want the snake in the house, so it got the boot. But no, my fur babies, Hugo and Willa, are everything to me, especially so Hugo came to me when this all drama happened. I got him as soon as I got home. And so he wasn't an impulse buy. I had already planned him, but I got him earlier than planned because I had gone home. And yeah, he was my rock the whole time. You know, my partner still had to work. My family still had to work. Everyone still had to do their own thing. I did have people coming over to make sure, you know, I'm okay. But my dog did the biggest thing ever. Like he was my cuddle buddy. He was my friend. He, you know, loved me even when I was angry. You know, he's
He's
was
a
there.
big unit too.
He's 62 kilos now. And he's 1.
That's more than me.
So he's awesome and he's huge. And yeah, he's just the biggest softie though. Like my little puppy, Willa, she bosses him around constantly. Like she'll sit on his face or sit on him, or if he's getting the love, she'll like come over and like boot him over, and he just like walks away. So, and like you mentioned, I do a lot with the RSPCA. So I'm an ambassador for them and have been since 2018. Especially helping them with their, you know, desexing program, because I'm really passionate about ensuring that you're a responsible pet owner. If you're going to own a pet, get them desexed, because obviously accidents can happen.
Yeah.
You know, obviously through my animal studies, I've learned lots about how animals do it all different ways. And, you know, it's actually interesting, you know, a cat, every time they will breed, like that is a given. There is no time that if they don't have equipment, they won't use it. So that was something that, you know, I learned, and I was like, whoa, okay, get cats desexed as soon as possible. You know, I'm getting Willa desexed next week actually, so you'll see some stuff about that. But you know, it's a really good operation. And I also fostered for the RSPCA, so I have had kittens, I've had a cat, I've had puppies. I had a really good story with puppies. So I had a beautiful set of puppies that came to us that had a blood transfusion. Very hard, very difficult process for a puppy to go through, especially they were 8 weeks old. Makes them very malnourished, makes them feel sick, makes them unhappy. so brought them into my home with my Great Dane, and they flourished. They, built up their confidence, built up their weight, and they went and got desexed, and now they're in beautiful homes. So
Come on.
it's always a lovely story when I have managed to rehome all of the animals that I've had fosters for. So I tend to sometimes force them on people. I'm like, hey, you want this cat? You do. Because it's really hard to give them back. RSPCA does a fantastic job looking after all the animals in the shelter, and I try and help out through that. So I mentioned before that I volunteered for them. And work with all the animals in the shelter, cleaning out their pens and making sure they had some tender love and care every day, because obviously, as everyone's learnt through isolation, it's not as fun sitting in a room all day. No, that's how they feel. So it's a beautiful organisation, and I love animals, and hopefully I can, continue to share that with everybody and get people involved.
You're a very awesome person, Shayna. I wasn't sure at the start, but now won me over with that.
Who's the one wearing the beanie?
Yeah, no, that's pretty questionable. Okay. But they are for sale, guys. So.
And you've got a bit of a passion for horse riding as well, I believe.
Yes. So obviously, I love horses. Anything giant is just like I'm in love with, I'm a big fan of like large cats and horses and dolphins.
Great days.
What about
Great Dane,
the big banana at Coffs Harbour and like
I haven't
those
been
type
there.
of things? No?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, and I wouldn't call them animals.
I'm just wondering if it extended outside.
More of a fruit fan. No, so I love horse riding. It's a great way to get out, and I went to the hinterlands a fair few times at Cedar Creek, and the girls there always just let me ride off up the hills, and nothing too fancy, but just having the wilderness around and feeling free. And I think horses are just magnificent animals. So I do as much as I can with them. And they're cool.
That is awesome. And Shayna, the animal love is not the only way you have been staying busy now. You actually do a little bit of work as well with Haz's mate, cricketer Chris Lynn as well, through his sort of, I guess it was his brainchild, wasn't it? That company, the Playbook. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah,
so Playbook Coach is, Chris Lynn's baby, and founder Kieran Murphy and Chelsea Murphy. So they created this platform so athletes could coach other athletes through one-on-one, so private coaching, one-on-one, small team, and team-based coaching. It originally started with just one-on-one, but obviously as we expanded, especially with our team sports, a lot of people started having more interest to have our coaches and athletes as coaches for their teams. And it's a really good initiative. So I actually was a coach on the platform as well. So I started, I'm pretty sure 2018 as well, or 2017. And so I was coaching, girls from the age of 8 all the way up to 15. I had regulars, which I loved. It was amazing. It was so amazing watching, their growth and how they, adapt in the water and what difference you made. And that's kind of what Playbook wants to see is help those athletes, like elite athletes or, intermediate athletes, connect with other younger athletes who don't have that expertise or just don't have access to coaching. It's a great way for them to expand their knowledge and hopefully continue the sporting phase. A lot of people tend to drop out after school, and we want to educate people to ensure that they continue the sport they love. And it's not impossible to have the best of both worlds. You can study and you can play sport. I love working for them, and I really am so appreciative to them, because obviously with everything that happened, they reached out because I could no longer coach, and they gave me a position within the head office, which I'm eternally grateful for, because it's not every day that I couldn't have gone and worked at Woolworths, because every second day I was crying my eyes out. I needed a group of people who understood my life, who understood my passion for sport, and that's these guys. Playbook is so it's a family-based environment. We all look out for each other, and we look out for the coaches that we have on the platform and the families we have on the platform, and we do the best we can to accommodate for everybody to ensure they're all happy and can continue with sport.
Actually sounds awesome. That's cool.
Don't worry, we'll get you one.
That's right. Yeah, I'm happy to coach some lacrosse.
Hey, well, that's not a sport we have yet, so
The first one.
yeah,
I'll be a master in the field.
it'll be very popular.
That's right. Never actually played before, but we won't mention that in my bio.
And you're surrounded by more athletes than just that. Your boyfriend Joel is a top level hockey player, so I assume living in isolation with him wasn't quite as sedentary as a lot of people would have lived during the COVID-19 period.
Yeah, we probably should have mentioned him earlier, because you've actually dropped his
I
name
have
a few
mentioned,
times.
I always say my partner because I don't know, that's just a natural thing to say. But so my partner Joel, he's extraordinary, I think is the word for it. He's a fantastic hockey player. Probably he's in a way an inspiration to me because the amount of drive he has for his sport is unbelievable. Like his commitment, he's so driven. During isolation, he can't go play hockey on a hockey field or anything like that. So he's running every day, or he's gymming, or he's doing some sort of activity to ensure that he's fitter or stronger for when they go back. And I'm like, oh my god, like I can't do that. That's awesome. And he motivates me a little bit. Sometimes he gets frustrated because I don't listen. But the situation we went through is a unique situation for any couple, and he's obviously seen me at my worst now, and for someone to be so strong for me and to literally be my support beam through the whole process was I'm so grateful for, and I couldn't thank him. There's not enough words to thank what he's done for me. He watched out for my mental health. He spoke to people for me. He was always there for me. Oh my God, there's a dog in the room.
Ruby's come back now. She's been missing in action for 55 minutes. Yeah.
She's like, she hasn't pat me recently. I've got to come back. But yeah, so... and all I can do at the moment is my best to also support Joel and what he does. And it is sometimes hard, I will admit that. I do become envious of, he gets to go play hockey on a weekend, or, go hang out with the hockey mates, or he goes, he went and travelled at the end of last year. He went to New Zealand and to Perth for hockey, and I was just like, I should be doing this. And it was hard to watch, but, I love him. And he loves me, so we just make do, and we made it work. And if we can get through this, we can get through anything.
Yeah, that's right.
That's all I can say.
That's definitely true. That's testing times, and you come out the other side of it.
It tests any relationship, I believe. Friendships, family, everything. It definitely put a lot of strain on my family as well. So we've gotten through it so far, and I'm sure there's not too long to go. Fingers crossed. And I think we'll all be better off in the end.
Magnificently.
Good news.
All right, and on your Swimming Australia profile, Shayna, it says your favourite quote is, "To be number one, you've got to be odd," which is a Dr. Seuss quote. Did you choose that? What makes you odd?
Yeah, so I thought that was a really unique quote. I actually heard it from Bronte Campbell, and it just stuck with me. And it's true. You don't have to follow everybody else's lead. It's usually someone who leads, or someone who takes initiative and does things that makes them happy, that in the end is successful. And I've kind of lived by that. I've always been someone who's well spoken. I try to be a great role model for people. And I want to make a difference to people. If I can just influence one person's life to make it better, and to make them happier and help them, make a decision that suits them. I know a lot of people talk to me about they struggle with, maybe their parents don't support their decision to, become a doctor, or to become a drama student, or to become an actor, musician, anything like that. It doesn't have to necessarily be sport. A lot of people ask me, how did I deal with convincing my parents that this is what I was going to do? And in the end, I really love that feeling of feeling like I've actually influenced someone's life to help them make a decision, not necessarily, make that decision for them, but just give them idea of, if this is something you really want, this is what you've got to do. And so I feel like that's how I'm unique. I try to stand out in a role model, positive way, and, always push for that positivity, not the glasses half empty, although my glass is empty, boys. That kind of aspect. I always, like to think that the glass is half full, and, sometimes there's times that you will question that, but with my uniqueness, I try to keep going. So, yeah, I love that quote. And it was from Bronte Campbell, but now I've kind of claimed it as my own.
Right.
Yeah, we are all pretty much finished our smoothies. So luckily we got a big delivery from Alchemy. So.
Shayna got to see the delivery out on the table. It'll take us a couple of years to get through. So if you ever need a refill.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to get refills all the time. I'll be like, send me some.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll be taking my cut home, and my parents will be sharing them with me as well. So
yeah, you'll have to
Split
work
it
out
evenly,
how do we
boys.
divide that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, Shayna, I had one more question, although I'm not sure if this is just Has trying to stitch me up, but apparently we've got something in common in that you're a massive Eminem fan.
I do love Eminem.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of favorite songs, but one song that I would always listen to kind of prior to racing or prior to competitions that would always just get me like, woo, would be like the Not Afraid song.
Oh, okay.
I know every word, and no, I'm not singing a bit of it for you.
That's all right. Skin will do it.
But I really love a lot of his songs are really good, like motivational songs, just get you really amped up before a race. And some of the, like, obviously Not Afraid is a big song for standing up and, doing what you do. And that's what I have to do when I race. I race in front of many, many people, or you've got to kind of try and block those people out when you race. So, yeah.
Very fair. Maybe I need to change songs. I've been listening to Till I Collapse before every cricket game.
Oh my God, we listened to that in the gym. Joel and I also listened to that in the gym. So that's a gym song. So there's a gym playlist and there's a pre-race playlist.
And they're different.
So.
Okay, I'll just give people just a touch of the song. You can't hear it, Shayna, but this is in the background. This is Not Afraid.
I'm also not singing it. Just to
you're not hearing it?
I can hear it. I said I'm not singing it.
Yeah. No. Oh, you're not going to sing it?
No,
Start rapping,
save
mate.
that for another episode.
Can't. Skinner, just give us how it starts, ready?
Offer this paper before I land, but you won't take the sting off these words before I sing.
Yeah.
I did. They made me do the stupidly fast bit of Rap God on one of our earlier episodes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's done that before.
Yeah, that's always like kind of like my party thing. If although I don't party, whenever I've like had people or we get to choose playlists or anything, I always just chuck that song in there just to like show everyone that that's a song I know. Like not many people know it, and I'm like, I know that song.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, Mitch, but I think you are more suited to that faster Eminem section because you didn't
don't like the tones. They just bring
monotone didn't really do it justice, did it?
I don't know if he was fully into the performance.
Yeah, well, I'm nervous on camera. It's not my peak performance. Has give me some credit.
Optimum arousal level there for a bit of psychology. Now, Shayna, when we wind up, generally what we do try and offer people is the opportunity to either ask us any questions that you might have. I'm not sure what that would be. No one's ever actually asked us a question. What would that be?
I have a question.
Oh, no.
I actually have a question.
Okay.
So other than obviously me, who has been your favourite person to interview? And this doesn't have to be like you can all have your own opinion, but who has been someone that you were like, well, that was really interesting to like listen to?
Okay, brilliant.
It's hard to pick favourites. We don't want to single anyone out, but I probably do have to pick one and say Harley Ingleby, who's a world champion longboard surfer.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, yeah, there's a surfing in common.
I thought it was awesome to speak to a surfer. That's what I enjoyed.
That's very fair. As Leighthal.
I personally, I reckon I would say Gemma Maimai was my favourite because she was just like unbelievably talented on the microphone. Like just started singing. I mean, that's not to put pressure on her, but
there's no way that's happening.
She did like a karaoke session. She was incredible at like telling stories about just sheep and making sheep sounds. And
oh my God,
she was on fire. So I personally enjoyed that one a great deal.
Yeah, very fair. I think I'm going John Millman. For sort of the opposite reason to you, Has. I know nothing about tennis and felt like I'd learnt a lot. And to be fair, I'm still terrible at tennis, so it didn't help my game. But I enjoyed hearing his stories, and I sort of just got to sit back and listen to an hour of him rattling them off.
That's really nice. So that, like, I guess for like you guys as a podcast, that every person that you listen to, you guys are always learning something unique about individuals, but also like the sport.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, you know, you get a perspective of someone who like lives physically in that sport, like for that whole, you know, start of their life or whatever it may be.
Yeah, it's been an unbelievable process actually for that exact reason.
Yeah.
It's good. And now we know that like you can't see the world record line as well, which is obviously
Which is, it's just
something new every day.
life changing.
so I mean, that's
It's
changed
just,
my whole
when
perspective.
someone realized that when we couldn't hear people in the water, they were gobsmacked. I was like, no, like you can cheer as loud as you want. It's, you know, just don't hear it. Like, but I think at the Commonwealth Games, it was louder because like people like banging. So like, I feel like you could actually hear like the vibrations
it's like
going.
Kevin the Snake.
Yeah, I actually think that's how it worked. But, yeah, it was quite crazy because, you know, you'd hear, we're in Budapest and you could hear the crowd at least 3 kilometers away. Like, they were screaming, they were banging the seats, everything, but none of the swimmers heard them. Like, you just think about that noise from that stadium was unbelievable. You were like, what is happening over there?
It does not stop the commentators from trying to get people to cheer later. Like the commentators will always talk about, and it's like, the home ground advantage and like home crowd, and then in reality they actually just can't hear anything.
I actually just thought of a story. So,
oh, good, because that was our last question.
So I have one story that he might not like me telling, but so do you guys know Ashley Callis by any chance?
Yeah, we do, don't
big
we?
swimmer. Yeah, so he was Olympic swimmer, Commonwealth Games swimmer. He was also in the relay team who won gold for Australia against the Americans. It was like, whoa!
Oh, I definitely.
Everyone loved that one. So yeah, he's awesome, and I actually grew up with him. So he came back to swimming in 2000 and I think it was 2012. Yeah, it was 2012. So he came back to try for the Olympics in 2012. And he was my training partner, and I was, 12, 13 years old, whatever. And he ended up quitting because of me.
What?
So we were doing sessions together. Every now and then there'd be something that I would beat him at, or like he was just gobsmacked. Like I was a 13-year-old who was, beating him in underwater or beating him, in some 50s when he was like fatigued. And yes, he's a sprinter, but, I was 13.
Still, yeah, exactly.
And so he ended up pulling out before the trials for the Olympics. And we always laugh about it because I always say I caused him to quit, and he's always like, you're the reason I quit. And I was like, yeah, it is.
So you just reminded him he wasn't quite at the level anymore.
Yeah, well, reminder. A lot of athletes, they retire and then you miss it. Like, I've had a year off swimming and I would give anything to go back to swimming because it's more than just the medals or anything like that. It's literally the feeling you get when you stand behind the blocks or when you race or when you achieve a goal. Like it's those kind of feelings you get. And so, I believe like he missed that feeling. And so he tried to come back. And a lot of swimmers do, like Libby Trickett did that. She, had time off, had kids, and then she came back.
Yeah.
And it works different ways. Like some people excel and, might do better because they've got a bit more incentive behind it, and others, just wanted to give it a try and see how they go. And Ashley didn't make it through.
Oh, that's sensational. Well, Shayna, we've probably taken up enough of your time, I would presume. Thank you so much for making yourself available, for coming out to see us in the studio here. And we appreciate you being. You're an amazing person, and we hope that a lot of people enjoy actually getting to hear your side of the story in many ways for probably the first time for a lot of people. So we appreciate you being here and for the light that you've shed, I guess, into your situation, but also for other people that will definitely go through the same thing in the future. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, guys. I will say that, Sam mentioned there was a dog here, so that's kind of no, thank you for having me. Like I really enjoyed chatting with you guys, and I look forward to, sharing this with everybody and hoping that, as many people can get an insight into my life, but as well as, everybody else you guys, interview in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate it so much.
That's okay.
Thank you, Shayna.
Thanks, boys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye. And welcome back, guys. That was our interview with Shayna Jack. Magnificent to hear her side of the story, really, which you probably don't get to hear all the time. So, quality, wasn't it, boys?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, she was very kind with her time, gave us plenty to talk about, and we got to know a lot about her life. She's a very, very nice young lady, so good to hear what she has to say and learn about the struggle she's gone through in recent times.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
right. Yeah, we'd love to have more information for you about when you can expect a decision or anything like that, but not even she knows, so we're not much chance of providing that, unfortunately. But we'd very much hope to see her back in the pool at some stage, that is for sure.
Great.
Excellent. Now, guys, we obviously love communicating with you. We love getting tipped off from stories with you. We've got the Tote 11 segment still running at the moment. There will be another couple of nominations to play next week on our podcast, but you can head definitely to the website to find us there through the speak pipe where you can record your particular story that you have. Where else can people contact us, Skinner?
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all those sort of places. You can send us an email at hello@wegotthechocolates.com.au, or yeah, if you're struggling to find any of those, just jump on the website wegotthechocolates.com.au and it'll all be there for you.
Magnificent. Now, we also love people to subscribe and give us a review or a rating at some stage as well, don't we?
Please do. There's plenty of places you can listen and plenty of places you can leave your rating and review. 5 stars would be awesome. Give us plenty of feedback, and we'll read out some of those responses on our next couple of episodes.
Yeah, we got some belters actually, a couple of new ones. I'm not sure if you've seen them yet, but they will be very, very impressive. Now, guys, standard operation, we do need to designate a best on ground. At this stage, it's probably a formality when a guest comes on. Are we all happy with that?
Yeah, very happy
Good.
to give it to Shayna this week. Yeah.
Do we want to spray each other though?
Well, yeah, I could mention you're struggling on the buttons yet again. This is the third take of the intro / outro, I think. So throw that in there, but it's not really a shock anymore, is it?
No, that's standard practice, really.
I do like what you guys have done here with the little added extras. You got the We Got the Chocks sign there in front of us, and a few extra pin boards on the wall. So.
Yeah, we got a pin board that says "Be Our Guest," but Shayna's not on it because we forgot to get a photo with her. Probably that has to be blamed on you.
We're great friends now, so hopefully the three of us can catch up with Shayna again at some stage soon and get a photo with her.
Absolutely, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much for listening, guys. We are definitely with you every Thursday at 7 a.m. They come out. Continue to liaise with us. We most certainly love talking to you. We love talking about you, and we look forward to being with you again next week. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Stops.